and westernmost Fulton County. I want to read from the National Weather Service that just issued the warning. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located near Coldbrook, or 16 miles northeast of Utica, moving to the east at 40. This is a radar-indicated tornado. It has not been spotted by storm spotters, and this is in effect until 4:45. It's heading toward the Mohawk Valley and portions of western Fulton County. So it's impacting Herkimer County now, and then eventually, as we get deeper into the 4 o'clock hour, this storm is going to be over portions of the Mohawk Valley in Fulton County and perhaps even portions of Montgomery County. And look at this nasty storm here on the first warning live Doppler radar. No wonder why the Weather Service is on top of this. This storm has already produced wind gusts to 80 miles per hour in Rome, New York, just about a half hour ago, and it continues to gain steam. It's moving to the east at 40 miles per hour. We'll put a track box on this, and we'll talk about some of the locations that'll be impacted by this particular storm as we get deeper into the 4 o'clock hour. All right, so these locations, a lot of them are to the west of our viewing area, but then we start to get into the Dolgeville area, Oppenheim at 4:08, over toward Scotchbrush at 4:16, and Arietta at 4:18. So all of these locations are out in the Mohawk Valley. I want to show you the amount of lightning with this particular batch of storm. I mean, it's just an incredible amount of lightning. 637 lightning strikes with this area of storminess alone. So it's producing a tremendous amount of electricity. Wind gusts have already occurred up to 80 miles per hour, and now with some rotation being indicated by the first warning live Doppler radar, a tornado warning has been issued. And again, if you are in western Fulton County, heads up out by Caroga Lake, let's say, and points on the thruway, let's say, north of Canajoharie, those are the locations that are under the gun, but even portions of the Mohawk Valley right along the thruway will continue to be impacted by this severe storm, whether or not you get the rotation. So let's go and we'll put on the velocity portion of this particular radar. And first of all, what sticks out here, meteorologically anyway, are these gusty winds over 60 miles an hour. Manheim, Herkimer, in Herkimer County. And this is all headed toward Fulton County, which is why we have the warning. And what goes on with these types of storms, as I put the radar back up, I'll move it over a little bit, we'll center it on the screen here. What happens is you get this big burst of rain that comes down out of the supercell, and it hits the ground and it flattens out like a pancake. So you get these really strong gusty winds, and you can really see almost like a bow right here. And we call this a bow echo because the winds at the apex are the strongest, 60, 70, 80 miles per hour. And then what happens is you start to get these little spin-ups on the apex. And while the tornadoes might be weak and brief, they're tornadoes nonetheless. And that's why the radar indicates these little spin-ups, and they issue tornado warnings for these particular situations. So this isn't necessarily a classic massive wedge tornado, but what I think we're having here is a line of thunderstorms that are producing 70 to 80 mile per hour winds, and then at the apex of the bow, you're starting to get a little spinning action here. And we talked about the tremendous amount of lightning activity with this particular cell as it moves to the east at 40 miles per hour. This is just the beginning, because this line of storms, and I'll expand the view here for all of us to see, this line of storms will march across the viewing area in the next couple of hours, and you can see how it extends from the western Adirondacks right up and down Herkimer County into the Mohawk Valley, and then it looks like the line is starting to extend even farther to the south and into the I-88 corridor. So additional warnings have now been issued for the western Catskills, including Delaware County. So it stands to reason, whether we maintain the tornado risk or not, that we're going to have some heavy weather coming through a good slice of the capital region between now and about 6:30 tonight. Let's go to the Amsterdam camera because I'm curious to see what we're seeing. And boy, does it look dark. So Amsterdam's still a good distance away from the actual line of storms that we've been tracking. Nonetheless, it's gotten cloudy and dark, and this sky looks volatile as all of this is marching into the capital region. It's still 88 in Amsterdam, and we were talking about the building heat and humidity associated with this particular air mass. It generated thunderstorms yesterday. Some of them were severe. We had some tornado warnings out in central New York. And now today, for a second day in a row, we've had thunderstorms fire a little earlier and closer to us. And in this volatile environment, with the heat and humidity, we've got all of this action approaching the southern Adirondacks and Mohawk Valley. We had a nasty line of storms that has been marching to the east at 40 miles an hour. And we'll put another track box on here, and we'll talk about the locations again. And some of the places that'll be impacted in the next 30 or 40 minutes. Again, St. Johnsville at 409. Oppenheim, by the way, 406. So heads up in these couple locations. We actually have, again, some things to do if the tornado warning or the storm that's producing the tornado warning is heading into your area. 0 to 10 minutes. So that's Oppenheim, St. Johnsville, Kings Brush, right, 412, and let's even throw in Glasgow Mills and Ephrata in the 0 to 10 minute time frame here. Go to the basement now, seek shelter in an interior room at the lowest floor, and to get low with a helmet if possible in that interior room, just to keep yourself protected by any flying debris. And again, we haven't spotted this tornado. There's no ground truth observation to this point. Reed's in the Weather Center. He's checking with the Weather Service, and he's going to have any reports that come in of any ground truth observations of a rotating supercell or perhaps a funnel cloud or a tornado. Right now, this is just radar indicated, which is why we try to warn in advance. It doesn't necessarily have to touch the ground. We like to give you that advance warning, especially for those in western Fulton County. It's not there yet. It's starting to rain in a lot of places. And let's zoom in here a little bit to get some communities. And we talked about Stratford. Just outside of the tornado warning is Caroga and Caroga Lake. So heads up there, because this could be down your way in about 20 to 30 minutes. Oppenheim, you're in the tornado warning right now. So do take shelter in an interior room or basement in Oppenheim. We'll put the velocity on here again. And even if you don't have a tornado, with this particular line of storms, this is showing 60 to perhaps even 70 mile per hour wind gusts in the light green here. So you can see us switching between radar sites. We've got you covered here with 3 radars, Binghamton, Rome, and of course Albany as we get closer. But this light blue shade here and the green is an indication of wind gusts over 50, 60 miles an hour. We talked about a little bit earlier, closer around 3:30, we have a reported wind gust from Rome Air Force Base, Griffiths, of 80 mile per hour winds with this line of storms. So Dolgeville, Oppenheim, Stratford are the communities that are under the gun right now, right along 29A. So we're going to keep our eyes on the potential rotation and possibility that there is a tornado with this particular line of storms at the apex of that bow that we talked about. But again, you don't need a tornado to cause significant damage with this particular situation. And we'll talk about the bow echo again. I touched on this about 5 minutes ago, but it bears repeating because this storm is pretty nasty. And you can see that line, if you will, or that bow that's out ahead of this line of very intense thunderstorms. The thunderstorm itself, the nasty, very, very heavy rain and maybe even some hail comes down so quickly and it hits the ground from above and it splatters out like a pancake. And then you get the gusty wind out ahead of it. So that produces this bow echo here. And then along the apex of the bow, just think about wind rushing ahead at 80 miles an hour. You start to get, because of friction, a little of these spin-ups. And that's why we have the tornado warning for western Fulton County. We talked about the possibility of some storm reports coming in from the Weather Service. Reed is in the office. He's been monitoring that. We'll be on top of this for you until this tornado warning expires at 4:45. So we are interrupting the news at this point because this takes precedent. When things perhaps quiet down a little bit, if it does, we'll get to the news portion of the program, but we want to keep you aware of this situation as it unfolds in the western part of the viewing area, in particular, southern Hamilton and western Fulton County, where a tornado warning is in effect until 4:45. Let's go back out to Amsterdam. As we've been talking about the potential for some storminess in the Mohawk Valley all the way downstream here. And this is our shot from the CDPHP first warning cam. And you could just see how dark it is out here. There is some serious weather going on. And for that matter, if you're in Schenectady, or Albany for that matter, the greater capital district, including Amsterdam, and you have business out toward Utica, be prepared because this heavy weather is coming at you while you head westbound on the thruway. So we certainly want you to be exercise caution on the thruway. If you're going, be prepared to pull over or perhaps wait for this line of storms to come through. It is moving toward us here at 40 miles per hour. So we'll reset again here at 4:10, and we're going to put up the tornado warning. It's for western Fulton County and southern Hamilton County until 4:45. I've been showing you the radar here because it's just a nasty cell. You see all the dark red here and the orange? That's rainfall rates that'll cause easily ponding of water on area roadways, some localized flash flooding, in addition to all the wind that's been associated with this. And you'll definitely want to seek shelter in an interior room if you're even just around the house. Get in there, don't hang out by the windows and look. And here's the number one reason why. I just put the lightning on here, and we're at 574 lightning strikes just in the last 15 minutes with this particular line of storms that's rolling through. It just covers up the map. So just about everyone is seeing a bunch of flashes of lightning and hearing all that thunder as this storm rolls closer and closer to western Fulton County. We'll put the velocity on, and you can still see there's a lot of light blue, aqua color here in Herkimer County, just about entering Fulton County now, right along 29A from Fairfield and Dolgeville to Stratford. They just went through a whole bunch of heavy wind, and now it's approaching Caroga and Caroga Lake. And Route 10 also up toward Arietta, as you get into Hamilton County, will also be impacted by all of this wind that's heading in our direction. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the action that we're seeing from the National Weather Service. Reed, do we have anything yet from the Weather Service in terms of storm impacts? Do we know?
So I have a couple photos I'm going to try to get to you in a minute here from Rome, from where they had the warning and the damage already. Some pretty significant damage from a couple buildings there, including roofs being taken off. Colebrook, the New York State Mesonet cam, right now just to the south of that warning. Also, if we want to take that on max 2, you can. That's heavy, steady downpours going on out there in the mix there as well. So I'll try to get you those photos, Paul, in a minute, and I'll let you know when I have them, and we can show those in a second.
Okay, so the ground truth that we have right now, not only is that there's this tornado warning in effect, but we've had wind gusts in Rome, Reed was talking about it, of up to 80 miles per hour. So whether or not those winds were spinning or straight line, they caused a bunch of damage out in central New York and right along, let's say, 29 and just north of the thruway. Right now in western Fulton County, they're getting the worst of it here from, let's say, about Oppenheim, right on 29, up towards Stratford. And this is exactly where we were talking about that potential for some rotating winds and the potential for even some straight line winds from Caroga and Stratford over to Oppenheim and Ephrata. So a tornado warning remains in effect until 4:45. We'll put the radar on. We'll go back to a wider view for you to get a little bit of a perspective here. So here's the greater capital district right in the middle of the screen. It's been hot and dry again today, up and down the Northway, the Thruway, points east on over into the western portions of New England. We had a disturbance move through southern Ontario. It totally flooded Toronto. On my social media, I had posted some shots from downtown Toronto today when storms moved through, and boy, did it cause chaos out there in southern Ontario. But now that energy is moving closer to us and acting on the air mass that's in place. And that's why we have all of this instability now generating all of this storminess, including the strong gusty winds, including all of that lightning we talked about, and those torrential downpours causing ponding of water on area roadways. I'll tell you something. Right now it's 4:15, and this tornado warning is in effect until 4:45. The actual storminess that is associated with the tornado warning right here is getting ready to move to the end of the tornado warning area. So we'll see in the next few minutes what the Weather Service does. And as we speak, you can see right there, they issued a thunderstorm warning for Hamilton County, and that's popping up in the yellow box here. So that's for the northern flank of this action. So no rotation up here into Hamilton County. We'll expand the view, and you'll see this even includes western Warren County. So no tornado warning for western Warren County, but I think just about everyone in the northern two-thirds of our viewing area, so let's say roughly from I-90, maybe even points south of that, up into the North Country, will have the chance at 50, 60, 70 mile an hour wind gusts as this line comes through between now and about 6:30, 7 o'clock. So heads up in Warren County. Reed, if you can get me the info on that particular severe thunderstorm warning, we'll pass that along as well.
I got you covered in a minute.
Okay, so we got the tornado warning in western Fulton County till 4:45, but I think the Weather Service is going to make a move on this, and I'll tell you why. It's reaching the end of the box. There's still some straight line winds with this, and there's possibly some rotation on the apex of this bow. But with the apex of the bow approaching the end of our warned area, it's likely that they will extend the warning through the remainder of Fulton County, the eastern two-thirds, including Johnstown and Gloversville, and up near Mayfield, and on over toward, let's say, the Great Sacandaga Lake. Whether it's extended as a tornado warning or just a severe thunderstorm warning remains to be seen what the Weather Service does. They sometimes give us a clue of what they're going to do with this particular cell, but we can tell just by looking at the first warning live Doppler radar, we still have that bow, and it's still likely that a lot of western Fulton County and southern Hamilton County will see at least 50 to 60 mile an hour wind gusts, if not higher, out of this particular storm, not to mention the torrential rain. Let's see if we have any hail with this particular line of storms. It looks like the hail is not a factor here, as we are pretty warm all the way up, but deep into the atmosphere, thanks to all that high pressure ridging to the south. So now I put the shear on here, and you could see all the shear. The wind shear, as it gets stronger, is where we would possibly see the rotation. So again, it's right at the apex of that bow, right? You got that bow echo punching down 29A toward Caroga Lake, toward Arietta. And right at the apex, you get these little spin-ups of wind shear in the green here. And that's why we issued that, and the Weather Service issued that tornado warning. All right, we talked about, we got Warren County here?
Yep.
Okay, and now we have another one.
To the other one, I'll update you on that.
So here's the deal. We talked about the Weather Service making a move. They just did. And what they did was they issued a severe thunderstorm warning for just about the rest of the Mohawk Valley, Fulton County, Montgomery County, western Saratoga County, and the northern part of Saratoga County, and also a good chunk of Warren County. Now, this is actually good news with the idea that we have lost enough rotation with this storm that they did not extend the tornado warning out into the eastern 2/3 of these counties. So I believe the Weather Service will let this particular tornado warning expire at 4:45. It's entirely likely, as the wind shear heads out of the red box here, that they may take this down completely. We're hoping for that. But the bad side of it is that there's still straight line winds that could exceed 50, 60 miles an hour. So we'll reset things here. We'll talk about Warren County for a second, because we still have that new thunderstorm warning that's been issued for the central Adirondacks into western Warren County. This one's in effect until 5 p.m. This particular part of the storm is moving to the east at 55 miles per hour, so it's racing. And I'll draw a line around it here. I want to get the line in a color that we can see. So let's pick, why don't we pick blue? And we'll highlight that area of storminess in the Adirondacks heading toward Warren County steadily at 55. But that particular part of this line of storms, not rotating. So we're talking about straight line winds of about 50, 60, 70 miles per hour. The radar indicated 60 mile per hour wind gusts as per the Weather Service. We'll get you a box on that. Okay. So I want to go over one more thing, Reed, and then we'll throw it over to you, because we have this southern flank of that bow that's going to take over from the tornado warning once it expires. And here it is approaching the central Mohawk Valley and eventually into a good chunk of the northern half of the greater Capital District. So heads up for wind gusts over 50 to 60 in Gloversville coming up in the next couple of minutes. Mayfield, we talked about that, 427. Broad-Albin, 432. Amsterdam, 436. 440 at Esperance. And 446 in Glenville and Greenfield at 454. All right, so the Weather Service is making moves here based on this line, and we're going to keep up with this. We talked about the severe thunderstorm warning, just finished telling you those folks that are going to have straight line winds of at least 50 to 60. Well, now that shear that we talked about has improved enough that the Weather Service has now increased and extended the tornado warning for a large portion of Fulton County and even into western parts of Saratoga County, and that's in effect until 5 o'clock. So we're going to be here for you the whole time. We're not going to let you down and go away when we have some strong winds of 60, 70 miles an hour and some rotation coming through. So this is the most serious part of the storm. Let's talk about this tornado warning. Reed, I'm going to get to you, but I wanted to talk about that warning. Go ahead.
Take a second to catch up on that warning. I'll update that warning that you were just talking about, because we actually have higher wind gusts than what you were even mentioning
Okay,
here.
let's go
and
to...
that way I can also show some of those photos that we got too for verification. Of
Okay, let's go to Reed and then we'll come back.
Yeah, we'll get. So an update on our latest warning that we do have, that's until 5:15 p.m. That's now extended into portions of the Capital District here. It's slow moving, only at 35 miles an hour, but it's also still seeing wind gusts as high as 70 miles per hour. So this is our latest warning here that extends out even into portions of Saratoga County that we're talking about. Paul was just mentioning this and had the tracking in place. Gloversville by 424, we're sending Tessa Bentulin in that direction to give us some ground truth as to what's happening on the ground. We're going to be keeping her safe as well. 428, Johnstown, we'll be seeing some of that heavy torrential rain and those strong wind gusts as well. Broad-Albin at 437, Providence by 448, Corinth by 503, Milton by 510, Saratoga Springs seeing this by 512, and then Kingsbury by 527. So we'll show you really quick here too some of the ground truth. This is the same cell, Paul, if I'm not mistaken, that had the 80 mile an hour wind gusts from earlier. So this is some ground truth from Rome, New York, where they measured that. This is the West Liberty Church. in Rome, and you can see the roof blown off the top there from those strong gusts. They also had a tornado warning as well in those spots here. We have another different shot. A car flipped over out in Rome right now from that damage that came on through. And of course, even one of the signs and trees actually getting split here. So this storm, no joke, even if there is not a tornado warning in your direct spot, it's still something we want to factor in and take a look at. I'll also show you the Oppenheim cam. I know you had mentioned that earlier, Paul. They're now seeing some heavier and steadier rain in the mix from the New York State Mesonet camera site here. Otherwise, we're not seeing any much of a shelf cloud in place at that moment. If you are ready, I'll hand it back over to you, Paul. If not, I can keep going here for a minute.
No, we're good.
Good to go?
Yeah, we're good to go.
Cool.
So I want to recap the latest tornado warning that just came out because it's for a more populated area of Fulton County and the western chunk of Saratoga County. So it includes Johnstown, Gloversville, Mayfield, Northampton, even all the way down toward Glenville and even Galway. Reed, if I can get the text on the tornado warning, that would be helpful. Yeah, so we got the, actually I can get it right here on the computer. So it looks like this is radar indicated again. And it also looks like we're moving, this thing is moving to the east at 50, so it's moving along. I want to talk about the radar because you could really see that bow echo here. This is just funneling right down the Mohawk Valley and the southern Adirondacks, southern Hamilton County and Fulton County. You see that bend or that bow? That's moving at 50 miles an hour. We got a ton of lightning with this, and the wind damage or the wind reports, Reed just went over 50, 60, up to 80 miles per hour. So here are some of the communities that I want you to take shelter. You're in the tornado warning. Out near Bleecker at 425, so that's now heads up. Get into your shelter now in Gloversville, your basement, the lowest floor, the lowest in the interior room. And Mayfield, 431. So you're talking about 6 minutes. Hope at 432. 436, Broad Albany. Edinburgh at 449. And over into Providence and Galway, as we get into western parts of Saratoga County as we get closer to the 5 o'clock hour. So this is also producing ponding of water on area roadways, some localized flooding with these storms as they pass on by. Just an incredible shot out of Amsterdam. This is a perfect shot of that severe storm and the tornado warned storm way out in the Mohawk Valley west of Amsterdam, but it's coming toward the camera at 50 miles per hour. So it's got a move on it, and it will continue to approach as we get closer to the 5 o'clock hour. So again, we have that warning. We have the thunderstorm warning, so not to ignore other parts of the capital region, because even if you don't have tornado winds, rotating winds, we have a lot of locations that'll have straight line winds, and that includes portions of Warren County, portions of Montgomery County as well, and another slice of Saratoga County. But we're going to focus for now on the tornado warning. This storm is moving through the southern Adirondacks and Mohawk Valley at 50 miles per hour. I'll put the radar on here. And again, let's focus a little bit on the particular communities that are right in the path of the strongest winds. In the red here, Bleecker, Gloversville, Mayfield, for example, even Johnstown, and eventually Northampton and Hope. We'll put the velocity on, and you could see a couple of the brighter green colors here. And I point these out because these are where the spin-ups happen, where we start to get the bowing segment of the radar. So you got the winds blowing this way at 50, 60 miles per hour, and then you start to get these little twists or spin-ups at the apex of the bow. So right along 30, heads up out toward Amsterdam, points north toward the Great Sacandaga Lake, Mayfield, Gloversville, Johnstown, Bleecker. See if we can get closer in to some of these communities that are being impacted right now. For example, you probably know somebody who summers on the Great Sacandaga Lake. Tell them heads up. They probably know already, but if you're going to be out and about this afternoon, you get the first warning weather app. These warnings will come right to you. So even if you can't be in front of the TV and you got to run out, you will have that information for you. But the Fish House, know some folks in Fish House, Broad Albany, Mayfield, Cranberry Creek, and Northampton. We have some light rain right now, but this very location is in the tornado warning. So here's what we want you to do. If you're a little bit further out, let's say 10 to 30 minutes, we want you to get indoors. If you have a mobile home, leave the mobile home and find a strong building. You still have time, 10, 20, 30 minutes out by the Great Sacandaga Lake, and prepare to go to your safe spot in these locations. If you're closer, Bleecker, Lindsley Corners, Gloversville, Johnstown, we have different instructions because you don't have as much time to get out of the way of the storm. So we want you to shelter in place in your basement, interior room on the lowest floor, and to cover up with a mattress or a helmet if you have it, because these wind gusts really mean business. I'll get this over to the side here so you can read all the text. Again, basement, seek shelter in interior room, and low with a helmet if possible. That's Johnstown, Gloversville, and Bleecker. Those are the communities that are being impacted right now by the strongest winds. We could put the velocity on, and you could see that green line that's coming through those communities right now as we speak. Let's see if we can get some of the roads on here. Lake Edward Road, Lily Lake Road, Route 145, and Route 112. Those are the communities, the areas, if you live or have some friends or family on these rural routes here in Fulton County, they're being impacted right now by the strongest winds. Let's move over a bit, and you could see out toward Jackson Summit by Denny Road, Denny Hollow, and Paradise Point Road and Christie Road. Those winds are bearing down on you right now, right along 123 and 30A. Okay, yeah, we are getting some reports that we have our reporters ready to go. So we do want to hear from them, but I do want to make sure that we have everybody covered with what's going on locally out in Montgomery County and Fulton County. So we have that. I'll reset the tornado warning, and then we'll go to Winique, who's in Clifton Park, and she'll tell us what she sees from there. So we have this tornado warning. It was issued at the top of the hour. And the Weather Service has extended this warning to 5 o'clock. It's a tornado warning for Fulton County and the westernmost part of Saratoga County for this nasty line of storms that's coming through right now, the southern Adirondacks, Great Sacandaga Lake, Johnstown, Gloversville, eventually down toward Amsterdam. And these locations could see 50, 60 mile an hour winds, gusts up to 70 not out of the question, and Reed showed you some storm damage that the winds from this particular storm produced out in the Rome, Utica area with 80 mile per hour winds. So that tornado warning is in effect until 5 o'clock, heads up in these locations. You know what I want to do? Put a track box on here and talk about some of the communities downstream, such as Glenville, for example, 446. So that's another 16 minutes away. You have time in Glenville to prepare for all of this wind. Got a bunch of hanging plants outside? Bring them in. Got some lawn chairs out by the pool? Bring those in. These storms are coming through. It may not be a tornado at the time it reaches you, but straight line winds of 50 to 60 or more are certainly more than likely in your location. Charlton, 451, same deal. 456 out in Milton. We talked about Saratoga Springs right at the top of the hour. If these storms continue to move at 50, they're going to be in Saratoga Springs in a half hour at 5:01, and then Wilton at 5:02. They do speed up and slow down, so this may not be as precise as we want it, but this is obviously the current trajectory as we speak. I'll expand the view, and we'll talk about what's going on region-wide. And you could see this nasty line of storms extends from the central Adirondacks through the Mohawk Valley and down the I-88 corridor. Over into the greater Capital District, it continues hot and dry, and we have so much sun creating the instability necessary for all of this thunderstorm action. And now we have the energy punching in from the west, which is why we have this massive area of storminess rolling our way. With that said, we have Winique Martinez, who's stationed in Clifton Park. Winnick is out storm spotting this afternoon, and she's looking off to the west, and conditions right now on the radar are dry where Winnick is, and we're going to hear from Winnick. Winnick, where are you exactly, and what are you seeing right now?
Hey, Paul. Well, I am in Clifton Park right now, and what I'm seeing is the winds are really starting to pick up. You can see the trees blowing in the wind. We have a lot of stuff blowing around right now, and it was mostly sunny, still very hot and humid when we got here, but we are really starting to see those storm clouds develop. We have that instability in the atmosphere, like you mentioned, so although those storms are a few miles away, you can see in the distance those storms really starting to take on that vertical structure because of how unstable it is. Now, we still do have some sunshine peeking through and blue sky, but it is starting to get dark. And again, as I mentioned, those winds are really starting to pick up. So we will continue to track these storms for you. Although it is quiet right now where I am, we are still keeping a close eye on these storms because they're a few miles out and we can really feel it coming. Paul?
All right, Winnick, thank you. Appreciate that report from Clifton Park. You know it's coming down your way. We also have Tessa Bentulin, who's in Gloversville right here. And we're going to hopefully hear from Tessa in a few moments because that storm is really bearing down on the Gloversville area and the Johnstown area. But I do want to reset the warning and just give you a heads up on exactly who's been impacted or who will be impacted. The tornado warning, the latest one, is in effect until 5 o'clock, and the storm is moving east at 50. This is radar-indicated rotation. We don't have any reports yet of a tornado that's touched down, but we know that the storms associated with this warning have been producing wind gusts of over 60 miles per hour, whether the storm is rotating or not. You can see it on the first warning live Doppler radar, the tornado warning and the severe thunderstorm that's associated with it moving to the east at 50. So we'll talk about in the short term some of the communities that'll be impacted. Broad Albany and Perth. We've been featuring your towns over the last 15 to 20 minutes. These strong gusty winds will be in your area shortly at 4:38 and 4:40 respectively, so within 5 minutes. Knowlehurst at 4:45, Providence 4:46, Galway as we jump over into Saratoga County. We'll see these strong winds and rain at 4:50. And Hadley and Milton as we approach 5 o'clock, and Saratoga Springs shortly after the 5 o'clock hour. This bow echo here has been producing winds of 60, 70, 80 miles an hour. And what happens is we get these little spin-ups on the bow. We've been talking about them. Meteorologically, this is the type of setup where we have small but powerful tornadoes that can produce a lot of wind damage, and they're only on the ground for 2 to 5 minutes, maybe even less than that sometimes. And you could really see that bow here when I put the velocity or the wind speeds, and this is the power of the first warning live Doppler. You can see the wind speeds out ahead of this, just approaching Northampton right now. The Gloversville area probably just got hit with the hardest winds they're going to see out of this storm, and you see the light green color here. That's an indication of at least 50 mile per hour winds, perhaps even up to 60 miles per hour. So let's zoom in. We'll talk about some of the towns and communities. The Mayfield area taking the brunt of this storm right now, right on up 30 toward Cranberry Creek, Highway 123, Northampton. Heads up, Northampton, because the strongest winds are heading toward you right now. And if there is a little spin up or a tornado associated with this line, this is where it's going to be, at least for right now. Little spin-ups at Cranberry Creek, Dennis Hollow, Northampton, Route 113, all in portions of central and eastern Fulton County. We can even get a little closer and talk about some of the communities, the county roads, the 123, the Adirondack Park Preserve over off of 30, Bunker Hill Road, Adirondack Park Preserve, we talked about that, Warner Hill Road, and up toward Northville on Main Street and Rose Lane. Some of the strongest winds are heading in your direction right now. We'll put the radar on and we'll expand the view a bit, because this storm is really barreling across the southern Adirondacks at 50 miles an hour. And the radar really shows the intensity of the storm, the dark orange and red colors here, moving through Northampton right along 30. By the way, Amsterdam is down here, so we can look north into the storm, and boy, look at that. That's the shot out of Amsterdam. Can we take that full screen? Because I think that's very, very impressive, looking to the north. So this is that nasty wall cloud associated with the storminess here. Of course, we have all the antennas on top of St. Mary that obstructs the view, but boy, can we really see the structure in this particular severe thunderstorm, and in perhaps a tornadic thunderstorm with rotation associated with it. Do we still have the shot? And another shot right now, we'll go to Max 2 real quick, and you can see the shot on Max 2 out of Edinburgh. And you can also see that shelf cloud that's approaching with very heavy rain, strong gusty winds, and also that frequent lightning. Okay, so, all right, so we have Tessa Bentulin, and I believe she's in Johnstown. Is that correct now? She's in Gloversville. Okay, that's great. All right, here's Tessa. Tessa, we've been waiting on you because we know that the brunt of the storm has come through the Mohawk Valley up toward the Gloversville area. Why don't you tell us what you've been through, what you've seen, and where exactly you're at?
Hey, Paul. So we're in Gloversville right now. We're actually in a tractor or in a trailer supply store here, and the lights were actually flickering just a few minutes ago. We're kind of between the main entrance, where it's the front entrance, and then you kind of got this main space, and then you go into the store. I'm going to open these doors quickly if I can. So as you were saying, Paul, we're in the brunt of it right now. So you see a ton of rain. That's all you're seeing right now. Pretty windy out too. So you can actually see the trees back there. They're kind of blown in the wind. You see all this tractor trailer supply out there behind the gates there. Some of that stuff is blowing as well. This is what we're seeing at the moment. There's actually some customers in the store right now. They didn't actually know that there was a tornado warning going on at the moment, so we told them. A lot of them are going to try and get home as safe as possible. A lot of the workers are actually just kind of watching and waiting out the storm. One guy that works at the store was actually calling his manager, kind of telling him what's going on. You see this car coming by right now. Hopefully they'll make it home safe as well. Just the rain is pounding down here in Gloversville. You can't even see farther than the Burger King that's just down the way in this same strip mall over here. And the rain is so powerful too that from where I'm standing at the entrance of this tractor trailer supply store, you can actually feel the water actually kind of hitting my arm and my face a little bit. But thankfully we got to this area and to this kind of store about 10 minutes ago with my photographer Willow, and the rain had just station in Menands, and we drove on the highway, went to Amsterdam first because that's where we wanted to set up originally, because Paul, you were saying let's go there, and then when the storm hits, then we can kind of send you to any direction in just a short amount of time and look at the damage there. But then of course we got that tornado warning for Fulton County and some other areas in our market, and that's when I was talking to Reed on the phone, including our executive producer, Aaron Martin, and they were telling us, go to Gloversville, and thank goodness, my photographer, Willow, is from the Gloversville area, so she kind of knows this area. We went through the back roads, and the whole drive here, we were okay, it was dry, but you could see in the distance that it was really dark, really gray. You knew that something was going to happen, especially, Paul, you told me as well, that we knew that we were going to have a lot of wind and we were going to have a ton of rain. So that checks off very easily. So kind of just waiting out here, the lights flickering in this trailer supply store. At the moment, just kind of riding it out here and kind of staying as safe as possible.
Great job, Tessa. I mean, the ground truth observations are so important, and we appreciate that from you, because we can show radars, we can show these boxes that show warnings, but when you see the shots that Tessa was going through in Gloversville, it really does confirm what we've been seeing on the radar and what we've been hearing about. All right, we just got some information about a confirmed tornado on radar up at the Sacandaga campground just south of Speculator. And this is the one that's in this red box near Hope here, moving to the east at 45 miles per hour. So luckily, this particular part of the storm is going to remain over rural areas, but there are a lot of campers going on. There's a lot of activity going on in the Adirondacks, it being the middle of summer. So if you know somebody that's in the Adirondacks, Hamilton County, western portions of Warren County, tell them heads up, because this storm means business, and there's a lot of tree possibilities where you can get the trees blowing and branches and trees coming down, and we want everyone to be safe. So out ahead of this particular line, definitely seek some shelter, especially in this bowing part of the line that we've been watching over the last, let's say, 45 minutes or so. The tornado warning remains in effect until 5 o'clock. Here are some of the communities that'll be impacted by this storm. Glenwild at 4:45, so that's just about now. Heads up in Providence and Mosherville in the next 5 minutes. Seek shelter in the lowest floor of your home, a basement if you have it, interior room, oftentimes a bathroom in the lowest level of your house, and then out towards Stony Creek and Sky Ranch a little bit later. You got about 10 minutes. Greenfield at 4:58. And we've been talking about portions of Saratoga County near Saratoga Springs shortly after the top of the hour. Still not decided yet whether this is going to continue to rotate at that point when it comes to Saratoga Springs, but western parts of Saratoga County, the eastern part of Fulton County, certainly under the gun with extremely heavy rain that Tessa talked about. Just a ton of lightning. Look how much lightning is associated with this. We're down to 222 strikes now in the last 15 minutes. So that's good news, but it's still a whole bunch of lightning associated with this bowing segment with winds of 50 to 70 miles an hour and possible rotation, and the one radar confirmed tornado near the Sacandaga campground in Hamilton County just in the last few minutes. The tornado warning's in effect until 5, so that's another 15 minutes. We're going to keep it here, and we're going to walk you through this so that if you're in these communities or if you have some friends in these communities, you know what to do. And we will prepare you for the worst of it when it enters your area. So, for example, Lake Luzerne, still just some very light rain right now. Warrensburg, same deal. And we talked about Saratoga Springs. All of these communities in Saratoga County, up into Warren County, are still out ahead of this line, but it's heading your way at 50. So you don't have a ton of time, maybe 15 to 20 minutes to get that lawn furniture inside, take down those hanging plants, button things up a bit. Don't take too long, but don't rush so you get hurt, but definitely get some stuff inside, batten down the hatches a bit for this line of storms to roll through. Now, we're going to wait for word from the National Weather Service as we're starting to see this bowing segment reach the end of the warning box, which is right here in western parts of Saratoga County. So as this area approaches the end of the box, we'll see, like they did last time, do they extend the tornado warning deeper into the more populated area of Saratoga County? Or do we just see a severe thunderstorm warning, which still has to be considered with 50 to 70 mile an hour wind gusts, but without the rotation? So we'll see what the next move is that the National Weather Service will make and see if they allow this tornado warning to expire at the top of the hour or they extend it deeper into Saratoga County. If you are in, let's say, some of these communities in the western part of Fulton, or rather western part of Saratoga County and easternmost Fulton County, Northampton, Day, Providence. Let's include Galway now on 29 and also the Glenville area. Heads up, as we have a storm that's right on your doorstep And this is what we want you to do in this situation. Tornado warning, tornado about 0 to 10 minutes out. Go to the basement now. Seek shelter in the interior room in the lowest floor if you don't have a basement, and get low with something covering your head, a mattress, a towel, or if you have a bike helmet, that works in these situations as well. We know that straight line winds have produced a bunch of damage with these storms, and we also know that there's been radar indicated rotation up here into Hamilton County. So we know for sure that these storms mean business as they approach. Let's go to the CDPHP first warning cam out of Amsterdam. We've had a pretty nasty looking shot at that storm due north, and there it is. Boy, I'll tell you, it doesn't get more textbook than that. When you look right up 30 from Amsterdam toward the Great Sacandaga Lake, you have a lot of structure here, a bunch of very heavy rain, and embedded in all this could be some rotating winds as this storm rolls across the county line from Fulton County and into Saratoga County. Let's see what we have on Max 2. I think we're rolling out of, Reed, where's this latest location? Johnstown again. Okay, so Johnstown, the heaviest weather's already come through. So the Mesonet cam has just basically stratiform rain right now as we see the clearing, so to speak, behind the heaviest and most intense rain in Johnstown that sustained a bit of a hit from this. Again, we're waiting on the Weather Service for wind reports. We're waiting on the Weather Service for other damage reports as we get into and toward the 5 o'clock hour. Right now, we had that radar confirmed tornado south of Speculator over the Great Sacandaga campground. That's 16 miles south of Speculator. This area of storminess moving toward Warren County and moving toward and into Saratoga County at 45 miles per hour. You could see all the lightning associated with this particular cell, and you could also see some of the damaging winds. All right, so we talked about the cell up near the Sacandaga campground. That's really starting to show up now on the first warning live Doppler radar. This is some pretty good rotation when you consider our part of the world and what we get around here. So this is why there's been a confirmed tornado on radar. It's just going over the county line now from Hamilton County on into the westernmost part of Warren County. So we have that tornado warning in effect. We have little spin-ups and rotation along this Boeing line segment. You can see the lighter green over Lake Pleasant, just passing Northampton now. And there's a little bit of a rotation there that's showing up even better. Let's see if this one shows up on our shear product as we get closer in. So right along North Shore Road, out toward Day from Edinburgh and Conklinville, showing some rotation here. And yeah, the shear looks fairly impressive at 45 miles per hour, right in this little segment, in the watch area and in the warning box of westernmost Saratoga County. So let's say you're in Broad Albany and you're in Gloversville or Johnstown. Probably the worst is through. We still have some rain to deal with. We still have some gusty winds. But the more serious part of this storm is now entering Saratoga County, right along 29, Galway, right along 67 as well, heading out of Northampton and toward Day, eventually Lake Luzerne, Corinth, and Greenfield. You will be impacted by the effects of this storm as it's rolling to the east at 45 miles per hour. Still waiting on the Weather Service to see if they extend the tornado warning or if we see just a severe thunderstorm warning extended out from this line. There's going to be something because the winds along here have been ripping along at about 50 to 70 miles an hour. So we're covered out toward Lake Luzerne in the north way up toward, let's say, about exit 17, 18, with a severe thunderstorm warning, but the tornado warning is just for the western parts of Saratoga County. I wouldn't be surprised if they did what they just did, extend this into the middle of Saratoga County. So now we have a new tornado warning for a good chunk of Saratoga County. And we are getting some reports in now I want to go over here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go over this new tornado warning. Then I'm going to go over to Mark and Sabrina, who are going to tell me a little bit about some of the reports that have come in. So I want to cover this first because this is brand new. We have a new tornado warning. It's an extension of the one we've been talking about over portions of Saratoga County and all the way out to a good chunk of Washington County. So this one is in effect. I think Reed's got the info for me. Thank you. Till 5:30. So we'll tack on another half hour to this tornado warning until 5:30. That severe line that we've been talking about, western Saratoga County, moving to the east at 50. This is a radar indication of rotation, not a tornado that's been sighted. But again, the same effects, Warrensburg at 5:05. So coming up at 5:10, Lake George Village will be impacted by this storm, and whether it's rotating or not, it's going to produce some serious winds along the lake. Don't go out on Lake George at this point with this storm bearing down on that area. Comstock at around 525. There's a bunch of other communities that'll be impacted, but roughly speaking, just about all of Saratoga County from Clifton Park north, Warren County from Bolton Landing to Glens Falls, and then just about all of Washington County. Heads up, in the next 45 minutes or so, you're going to have some strong gusty winds, torrential downpours, and maybe even some brief spin-ups and weak tornadoes rolling through. All right, we just got some indication that there have been reports of damage. We're going to go over to Sabrina and Mark, who've got some information from County Sheriff. So we'll do that right now.
All right, Paul, thank you very much. Great job over there keeping everyone informed. We're in touch with the County Sheriff's offices in the areas where Paul is mentioning: Fulton County, Warren County, Saratoga County. I can tell you that Sheriff Mike Zerlo has just told me that Edinburgh is getting hit hard right now. Warren County Sheriff Jim LaFar saying storms have just gotten there. No serious problems yet, but as Paul pointed out, that storm is hitting Lake George Village any minute now, and he's advising people to stay off the water. Also getting reports of problems in Fulton County, the earliest in our area to see much of the damage related to this storm. Fulton County Sheriff Rich Giardino telling us that a tree is down on a house on Summer Street in Gloversville. Also, many of the other communities in the western part of Fulton County have been hit pretty hard.
And I think we're just getting where Tessa's heading to that location right now. Tessa Bentulin is in Fulton County. We heard from her a short time ago from Gloversville. She's heading over to that location you just talked about where that tree is down.
Summer Street, yeah.
We're checking on power outages as this storm continues to move right now. So in Fulton County, where this originally started, and just boy, in the past 30 seconds we looked at this, it jumped about 500 outages. So right now, Fulton County, about 1,100 outages right now as that storm is now moving out of there. The main areas: Johnstown, Mayfield, which Paul talked about, as well as Oppenheim, Stratford. Hamilton County, of course, kind of on the outskirts of our area, but still, Paul mentioned that this was hitting hard. 1,000 outages there.
That's most of that county.
That's true. Yes, yes. And as we continue to look, Montgomery County, we're at 679 outages right now, and Saratoga County, where this storm is headed towards now, as Paul has been tracking it, no outages to speak of just yet. Of course, it's moving closer to there as we speak.
A reminder to take shelter, even if it's not a tornado. It could be very damaging, very dangerous if you have 75, 80-mile-per-hour winds. Paul, that's the latest we have for you from here.
Okay, thanks, guys. Appreciate that update because it just confirms all the things that we see on the radar. We see how nasty the storms are and what the velocity or the wind product on the radar shows. And then to hear that confirmation really goes to show that the radar is seeing what we are expecting it to do. So the latest warning is a tornado warning for a good chunk of Saratoga County and into Washington County, which is in effect until 5:30. This particular line of storms is moving to the east at 50 miles per hour. Let's put a track box on here because here are some of the communities that will be impacted in the short term with this particular line of nasty storms. We talked about the top of the hour. For the last half hour, we've been saying Saratoga Springs, top of the hour. Well, it's right on your doorstep looking west. In fact, let's go to the CDPHP first warning cam out of Saratoga Springs. We pointed it west, and we'll see if we can get that shot for you. It's been a little glitchy with a lot of wind coming into this area. So I'm not sure if we can grab that camera at this point or not. If it's not coming up, I assume it's not ready yet. So we'll see if we can work on that. Wilton at 5:03, Stillwater at 5:08, Queensbury at 5:12, Hudson Falls 5:14, Kingsbury at 5:17, North Cambridge 5:21, and Hoosick Falls at 5:26. The lightest rain right now out ahead of these storms just approaching the Northway. And the heaviest is still in a line from about Johnsburg down past Stony Creek and toward Ballston Spa. This red area, the nastiest part of the storm, and the bowing segments along it are now moving into the central part of Saratoga County and eventually will sweep across the Northway with 50 to 70 mile per hour winds and perhaps some gusts up to 80 miles an hour. Look at the top part of the screen. That's Amsterdam right now getting hit very hard with the heaviest rain coming in. And also, on the bottom part of the screen on the right side, that's our CDPHP first warning cam out of Saratoga Springs right here looking dead into this line of storms. And you can see the gust front right out ahead here and down into portions of Saratoga Springs. We are going to see the weather go downhill pretty quickly as we get deeper into the 5 o'clock hour. So we put the track box on. You can see the communities. Tornado warning in effect. In the short term, we're talking about the Saratoga Springs, Wilton, Stillwater, Queensbury. This is what we want you to do. Go to the basement now or the lowest interior room that you have, like a bathroom, a small room, and to get low with a helmet if possible. We've had reports of small spin-ups on this particular line of storms. We don't have reports of a massive tornado coming through. That's good news. But you can see anywhere along this line, we have wind gusts that could exceed 50 to 60 miles per hour, and that's headed right for the Northway. Anywhere from exit 10 or 11 north through Saratoga Springs, 13, 14, Wilton, exit 15. Then you get up to Moreau Lake State Park, exit 17. The Queensbury area, South Glens Falls, 18, 19, and then finally up toward Lake George when you get into the 2021 area, Fort Edward and Fort Anne. All of you will see wind gusts of about 50 to 70 miles per hour as these storms blow through, and we'll also see the potential spinning up on the apex of the bows here in these echoes. Now, the most prominent area of shear right now is just south and west of Hadley, approaching Corinth. We'll see how much shear is with this, and you can see a pretty good dose of wind shear, up around 31 miles per hour worth of shear. That's a healthy amount of wind shear. So, especially so, we listed a bunch of communities, but I want to focus now on one particular spot, because this is where the wind shear is headed and the potential rotation. Right here along 9N. If you're in Corinth and Lake Luzerne, take this storm seriously. The worst part of it is headed toward you with the rotation and the potential for gusty winds over 60 miles per hour. If it's going to happen, this is where it'll be. And then eventually down the line into the Moreau area and Queensbury. So that's why we have the tornado warning in effect for Saratoga County and then eventually over into Washington County with this particular area of shear and this particular area of stormy weather. Showing up here on the velocity product, you could definitely see some of the heavier rain and the heavier wind rather, and the rotating winds that are associated with this, with the one red color blowing this way and the green color this way. That means rotation has been indicated on the radar. It's heading right toward Corinth, so heads up in that area and also over toward Lake Luzerne. All right, let's put the radar back on. I want to also show you the amount of lightning with this because we've gotten some power outages already. Rachel is standing by. I'm going to have her update us with the power outages coming up But we've seen the amount of lightning with this particular line of storms grow, and then it kind of relaxes a bit. And now we're getting another surge of lightning with this line. Just a ton of electricity in the air. Look at the amount of lightning strikes. Just in the last 15 minutes, 320 lightning strikes just with this line of storms here, heading through western Saratoga County and into the central part of the county. Let's go over to Rachel, who has an update on some of the local power outages. Wind gusts have exceeded 50 to 70 miles per hour. Rachel, what's the latest?
Hi, Paul. Yeah, also just getting word right now from executive producer Aaron Martin that Tessa Bentulin is in Gloversville, where there is a tree on a house. So we'll take her the moment I get word from producer Eric in the back that Tessa is ready to go. But in the meantime, let's talk about the power outages that we're seeing, because it is a considerable amount of customers here. Right here, 52,716 outages across this entire region. And there's a lot of different polygons on the map that you see here. Let's start in this blue one up towards Stratford. That one has 441 customers affected. Estimated restoration time, 7:30. I'm going to guess that's a little bit generous. Going down a little bit more south outside of St. Johnsville, 17 customers affected there. We've got Sprout Brook, 157 customers. Let's go a little bit more to the east here. This is now Rotterdam Junction, about 1,800 customers or so. The Schenectady area, fewer than 5. And as we zoom back out, you can see how they're very scattered. So they're not necessarily all in the same location. This is a very widespread area. So of course, we'll keep you updated as we continue to go throughout the evening. I know First Warning meteorologist Reed Kisselback, as well as Chief Meteorologist Paul Cayano, are literally talking right in front of me, talking about what to talk about next, what to cover next. So let me know, guys, when you're ready for this here. Steve Cooge is monitoring all of the latest feeds, looking for photos, looking for information. But let's keep looking at these here until the meteorologists across the room here are ready to continue. Looking out more west as well, look at all the outages that we see here. Point Rock or so, that is what, 503 customers, estimated restoration. Doesn't even have one. It says assessing conditions. Outside of Camden, we've got 1,129 people still assessing conditions. Let's go to Canajoharie as well, 330 customers. All right, just got word that Tessa Bentulin is ready for her live shot, again, live in Gloversville, where there's a tree down on a house. Tessa, tell us exactly where you are and what you're seeing now.
Hi, Rachel. So yeah, we're in Gloversville. We're on Summer Street. It's about 8 minutes away from where we were. You may remember around 4:30, 4:45. We're actually in a trailer supply store in Gloversville, just off the highway. So let's take a look at that down tree, right? These are some of the reports that we're getting. We're getting thunder, lightning, that rain still coming down here. This is in the back of the house. So when we first drove up to this tree, we're like, okay, well, where is it? And then we drove past the house and we're like, oh, we see it now. So it looks like it was a huge tree because it's taking up majority of the back of the house. And of Willow, you can zoom in right there where the base of the tree is. You see exactly where it snapped in 2 different spots. Looks like half of that tree is down in the backyard of that house. I haven't been able to check on the home to see if anyone is okay or if anyone is inside. Willow, why don't you follow me this way, because you can see it from this side of the house, and then you can also see it from the other side of the house. So a lot of rain still coming down over here. And while we were on the way here, Rachel, this is about an 8-minute drive, and we saw so much damage. So of course this is the biggest of it. So this is the other side of the house, and actually it's on the roof from this side of the house. So Willow, if you walk this way just a little bit more, Willow, if you walk this way to the right a little bit more, you can actually see it on the roof of the house there. So in just an 8-minute drive, not only did we see this tree come down on this house, but we also saw on another street there is some firefighters because they're blocking a road because there's downed wires over there. We're actually just at the bottom of a hill, so there is actually running water going down some streets, and there's flooding all over the area. So it's just really good for everyone to kind of stay inside right now. So actually the homeowner is actually coming outside the home right now. So let's go ahead and talk to her. But Rachel, I'm going to toss it back to you for the time being.
All right, Tessa and Willow, thank you so much. Great job out there right now. Continuing to look at the outages here, but let's get right over to First Warning Chief Meteorologist Paul Cayano. Paul, the rain rain really coming down. I see it on the camera in Saratoga Springs.
Yeah, good job by Tessa. I just want to emphasize that the storm, the worst of it is through. We saw the damage there, and now we're just seeing some rain. But obviously, we want to be careful no matter where and around the storm you are. There's a lot of lightning here and a lot of electricity in the air. All right, so here's where the storm is lined up. From Johnsburg and Stony Creek to Corinth, right down towards Saratoga Springs. Let's go to the CDPHP first warning cam out of Saratoga Springs. Rachel just talked about it. It's starting to pour. We've had this westerly view, but now it's obviously getting obscured by all of the heavy rain. Still 83 with a southwest wind at 18. Wind gusts associated with the line that's approaching Saratoga Springs have exceeded 50 to 70 miles an hour. We just got this in from the New York State Mesonet site in Edinburgh, right on the Great Sacandaga Lake, a 73 mile per hour wind gusts as this line blew through. So certainly we're going to be keeping our eyes peeled for some storm damage reports from that area. It's a heavily wooded area. It's in the Adirondack Park. There's a lot of folks that camp around that area this time of year. So we want everyone to seek shelter. Warren County, Saratoga County, Washington County, especially because this line of storms is moving through as we speak. Where is this, Reed?
So, Paul, this is in Edinburgh. I'm going to slide over here with you.
Yeah,
Sure. So this was in Edinburgh. The 73 mile an hour gust that just came through, that had a roof to it. That roof is now gone from that.
Oh, okay.
So we actually ground truth there for just how strong that is. So
Yes.
I'll try to get you the shot of that before and after here in just a second.
Okay, thanks. So this is the exact site that saw the 73 mile an hour wind gusts. This is a still shot, but the rain was coming down at Edinburgh at an extremely rapid rate here. All right, so let's reset the warning because it's now starting to get into the really heavily populated parts of Saratoga County. This tornado warning remains in effect for about another 20 minutes until 5:30. The line of storms, we've seen them going through Corinth, approaching Saratoga Springs now, is moving to the east at 50 miles per hour. Radar has indicated the rotation with this storm, and we've had these little spin-ups that we've been tracking with time along and ahead of this bowing segment. And it bows out like this, and you can see it propagate to the east at about 50. So here are the latest communities that'll be impacted. Malta at 510, 513 Queensbury, Kingsbury 518, and Fort Anne at 521. So that's about 5 to 10 minutes for those communities. Put a pin in that up to Fort Anne because this is what we want you to do in those communities. The warning is in the next 5 to 10 minutes. Go to the basement now, seek shelter in an interior room on the lowest floor, and get low with a helmet if possible, even a towel or a mattress up above you to protect you from any potential flying debris. I mean, reports of 60, 70 mile an hour wind gusts can cause an incredible amount of damage, even if we don't have a tornado. All right, let's talk about the other part of that line. We'll draw it on here again. And we're talking about the part of it that extends from Fort Anne, Greenwich at 522 as we're into Washington County, Hartford at 526, Whitehall 528, and Tiplady at 533. So these communities, including Easton, a little bit deeper into the half hour. So we still want you to pay attention to this storm, but it's not a rush to the basement in the next 2 minutes. But instead, here's what we want you to do in these communities. Get indoors. If you're in a mobile home, and there's a lot of mobile home communities in this particular red box, find a strong building. A mobile home, if you have 10 to 30 minutes, which you have in the bottom half, these communities, Greenwich, Hartford, Whitehall, and beyond, you can get to a sturdy building in time. Don't drive to the west into the line of storms, but try to find something close by as we get into the next 15 to 20 minutes. And to prepare to go to your safe spot, if you've already mapped that out, that's good on you. And we want you to do that for those communities in the next 10 to 30 minutes. All right, Saratoga Springs looks like it's getting hit extremely hard right now with a bunch of wind. We want to go to that area and see what's up on the velocity. And you can see that there's certainly signs of some rotation and strong wind gusts in these locations. So we will certainly have Some reports coming in from Saratoga Springs, very heavy rain, and we'll see ultimately what those wind gusts do. Now we have Rachel, and it looks like Tessa is still out there. Let's go to them for the latest on what just went through the Mohawk Valley.
All right, Paul, thank you so much. So you see us passing notes back and forth here. Now, this is Winnie Martinez, meteorologist out there right now in Malta, outside the Saratoga Springs Medical Center. Winnie, I can really see the wind whipping behind you there.
Yeah, Rachel, it's really starting to come down. When we drove towards this way, we were actually heading further north towards Boston Spa, but we were checking the radar and looking at the sky, and we noticed just how ominous it was getting towards this area. So we actually made a U-turn, decided to park here, and just look at how ominous the sky is. This is looking north and northwesterly into that storm right now, and you can really see those dark clouds rolling in. The winds are starting to pick up. You can see those trees blowing in the wind, and the sky is completely dark right now. So the rain is starting to pelt us just a little bit. Again, the winds are picking up, as I'm sure you can notice, and this is looking north-northwest into that storm right now. Look at how dark the clouds are. You can see that the storm is truly starting to roll in, and the rain is coming. So as Paul has mentioned, if you are in Saratoga County, do take shelter. Do not stay outdoors at this moment because the storm is coming. Rachel, back to you.
All right, Winnie, thank you so much. Make sure you stay safe out there. So a lot of things happening. We're continuing to see photos roll in from a variety of places around New York. We've got Rome, New York that has some pretty significant photos. If we have those ready, let's take those to take a look at those. But Steve Cooge is standing next to me monitoring, and there's a lot of photos coming out of Rome. This one taken from our NBC affiliate there, car tipped over. That is incredible. We also have some damage at this next one that's going to pop up here shortly. Take a look at that. That tree shredded. Looks like a road sign there, bent over. That is a metal post that it's standing off, and that shows you the power and the strength of these winds. Straight line winds as well are nothing to sneeze at here. So whether it's a tornado or straight line winds, they have some power, they have some punch. And so when Paul or Wanique or Reed or myself or any of our meteorologists tell you to get indoors, we're not just saying that. It really is important because this is what can happen. More photos are rolling in of the front of stores that have been ripped off. So again, all in Rome, New York, not in the capital region or upstate New York, continuing to monitor that. Speaking of that, let's head back over to Chief Meteorologist Paul Caiano. Paul, what are you seeing right now?
Well, we just got word from Mark Mulholland, who's been in touch with folks over at SPAC, shelter in place at SPAC, and here's why. We have this heaviest part of this rotating storm, excuse me, rolling through portions of Saratoga County, and this is exactly where the velocity or the wind element of the first warning live Doppler is picking up rotation right in Saratoga Springs, right through SPAC, and now right along the Northway at exit 14, getting ready to move over the racetrack. So heads up, Saratoga Springs, shelter in place. If you know somebody who went to the track today, things should be winding down. Actually, today's Tuesday, right? So it's a dark day at the track. That's good news because this would have seriously impacted folks at the racetrack. So a third eye blind at SPAC, shelter in place. If you know somebody heading there, stop. Don't go there yet. Wait for this storm to blow through and let this thing pass off because the most serious part of this storm is moving through Saratoga Springs right now with a bunch of strong winds, 50, 60, 70 miles an hour. Radar indicated rotation. A tornado warning remains in effect until 5:30, and strong gusty winds and frequent lightning with this particular cell. So we'll check the lightning. We'll zoom out a bit so you can get some perspective. The line extends all the way from the Adirondacks right down the Northway to Schenectady, and then it extends all the way down toward the western Catskills. Right now it looks like Greene County, Columbia County, and southern Berkshire County will probably make out okay, but the northern third of the area is under some serious weather, in particular Warren over to Saratoga and Washington counties where we have this tornado warning. So you can see the Boeing line segment here. getting ready to move through the Lake George area, right along the Hudson River, and then bowing back just south of Saratoga Springs. And that's where we have the strongest winds, right along routes 4 and 32, heading over into Washington County, and also up into the Lake George area. 50, 60, 70 mile per hour winds, not out of the question. All right, we have Tessa queued up for an interview. Should we go to her first, or we want to go to Reed? Let's go to Reed. He's got some important information he wants to pass along, and then we'll jump back and go to Tessa.
Yeah, Paul, just to the south of that tornado warning that you're talking about there, we have a new severe thunderstorm warning that was issued. So we just want to touch base on that because that's also seeing some significant wind gusts with that as well. 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts with this storm. That's until 6 p.m., moving east at 35 miles per hour. So again, it's slow moving. You can see that heavy torrential rain in the mix with this as well. So certainly going to be something that slows you down. Just hold in place. Wait for that to pass on through. They'll be at Colony by 5:26, Clifton Park by 5:28, Albany by 5:39, North Greenbush by 5:44, Pittstown by 5:54, Sand Lake by 6, and Petersburg by 6:08. Again, the main concern with this one, some 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. We actually had a spotter verify a 60-mile-an-hour wind gust in Rotterdam Junction, so certainly a significant one for us to see here. And it looks like I'm going to be sending it over to Rachel and Steve.
All right, Reed, thank you so much. Now, Tessa Bentulin live with a live interview right now. Tessa, talk about, is this the homeowner of the person that you were showing a little bit earlier with the tree on the house?
Hey, Rachel. Yeah, just a few minutes ago, you were live with me. You saw that tree in the back of a house here on Summer Street in Gloversville that kind of fell on either side of the house that we saw. It was in the back of the roof. And during our live hit, actually, the owners of the home came out. So I'm here with Robert and Barbara Nellis. And so, Barbara, you came out first. And the first thing you said to me was what?
Oh, my God. I was sitting in the living room and a tree come down, and it was like, boom! It sounded like a bomb going off. And we ran to the back because I figured a tree had fell, and sure enough, it was a tree that fell on the side of the room, and it damaged the chimney. And
there was two of them came down. Damaged next door neighbor's tree too, as well. The tree came down behind her garage and damaged the top of her roof, and then it damaged our roof. And then it came down the back there in the backyard there and pushed the tables across the thing.
Oh. And this happened, what, just a couple of minutes ago?
Just a couple minutes ago, yes. When the tornado, winds and rain just snapped the two trees about halfway up the tree.
Well, I guess my next question I should ask you is, I just want to make sure you're both okay physically and the house is okay.
Yeah. In the side room, a tree branch did come down through, and there was water coming down through. The firefighters had asked us if it did, but we went back in to observe, and it was leaking in the back room, and our branches down through. But it's the side room.
And the side room where the freezer room is. The insulation came down, and I noticed it was down, and I looked up, and there was all the tree through the...
Have you called? Right, I'm sure it scared you. Did you guys call firefighters or police yet?
Nope, they were riding around.
Turned around and showed up here, and they asked us, if there was any wires down, which there wasn't. And he did ask if there was any branches through the house, but we didn't know it at the time until after they left. Robert went back there to check again, and he saw that the branch was down through and it was leaking.
Okay, we saw some firefighters on the street over, so I'll see if I can let them know to come back to this area.
What would they do? I mean...
Assess the damage. I mean, it's better to have someone take a look at it, right?
Right, that's true.
And so, what now? You guys going to start getting to work, or just stay inside a little longer?
We're home. We're home, buddies. We're retired. So.
Retired, so
We're not going anywhere.
Right now I'm going to let it set for now until I can finish, take pictures and stuff, so we can do the insurance company and stuff and everything and go from there.
And this is not something you expected, I assume.
No.
No, it is not what I
it is not.
expected.
Nope.
Has this ever happened to you before with storm damage?
We had another one came down.
The last winter storm.
Yeah.
The last
Rainstorm.
rainstorm, we had a tree come down on the shed.
On our shed in the back.
The trees in the back aren't that great. They're old.
Well, thank you both so much. We'll talk a little bit more, but I want to just toss back to you guys at the station, and then we'll have more coming up from live here in Gloversville. But for now, Rachel, back to you.
All right, Tessa, excellent work out there. I'm glad you're staying safe with all of this. Let's take a really quick check of the outages one more time before we get back over to Paul here. This number has gone up. If you remember before, it was about 5,000 less. Now it's 63,015 total customers affected when it comes to National Grid outages as a part of this storm. And the polygons show the greatest grouping of them. So down by Cobleskill and House Cave, we've got about 1,900 customers or so. Estimated restoration is about 715, but we know those estimated restorations can often extend hours. So we'll see how that goes. Keeping an eye on this, let's head right over to Chief Meteorologist Paul Cayano. Paul, a new warning for us here.
Yeah, we are updating the tornado warning, Rachel. Thank you, and thanks to Tessa for that great interview with some ground truth observations. Always something we'd like to see to make sure that what we're seeing on radar is confirmed on the ground. And this is flashing because the National Weather Service has taken off the western part of this warning. So there's still a tornado warning in effect for a good chunk of Saratoga County, from Malta to Saratoga Springs and Corinth, up to Queensbury and Lake George, east into just about all of Washington County, up to about Route 22. The first warning live Doppler radar continues to show a nasty line of storms with a Boeing line segment capable of producing 60 to 70, and we've had reports of even 80-mile-per-hour winds with this over the last couple of hours here, going back to about 3:30 out toward Utica and Rome. Here are the communities that will be impacted by the strongest winds now out of this particular line segment. Fort Anne and Stillwater, 526, 527, respectively. Easton, Washington County, Hartford, 530, Salem, 532, Cambridge, 534, and then over into Vermont. So we'll keep an eye on this. It is absolutely pouring right now on the Northway with the length of Saratoga County from Clifton Park up to Glens Falls and then on over up to the north toward Lake George and then points east, routes 4 and 32. It is this particular area that has the best chance of seeing rotating winds, but even if they don't rotate, we've seen wind gusts exceed 50 and 60 miles per hour in this area. We also have a ton of lightning with this particular line segment. This is Saratoga County, virtually covered by lightning, 366 lightning strikes just in the last 15 minutes. So take shelter in the communities we talked about. Salem, Easton, on over toward portions of, let's say, eastern Saratoga County around Stillwater, Mechanicville, on up the road toward Victory and Schuylerville. Some heavy weather coming in right now. This tornado warning is set to expire in about 6 minutes. If that happens, we will certainly continue to update you on the progress of this line of storms, or it could be extended off into Vermont, which is highly likely considering the rotating elements within this particular line segment. I want to focus for a moment away from that tornado warning and toward Albany County. The National Weather Service, Reed covered this warning from Altamont on over toward Voorheesville. This particular segment of the storm, and I'll move it over so we can see it a little bit better, has produced wind gusts of about 60 miles an hour. And it's headed right along 156 and down toward Guilderland. So heads up from about Schenectady down to Guilderland. Maybe we'll even go down toward Bern and Rensselaerville with this. But this particular segment of this storm is heading toward downtown Albany. And if it stays together, the radar is indicating a downburst signature with this particular storm, which could generate wind gusts of over 60 miles per hour. If it holds together, we're talking about downtown Albany in about 15 to 20 minutes. So heads up with this particular segment, as it's still out in rural communities, not unpopulated, but more rural communities of central Albany County. But it is moving to the east at about 35 miles per hour. So let's put a track box on that one particular cell. We'll get the exact speed so we time it out right. And we'll talk about some of the communities that could be impacted by this particular cell. Again, not a rotating storm, but 50 to 60, maybe even 70 mile an hour wind gusts with a downburst and very heavy rain right along 155 and out on 85A. So out toward the Guilderland at 5:30. So coming up in about 5 minutes, heads up. New Scotland 5:33, North Bethlehem at 5:36. Then we start getting into the Colony Latham area. If this storm holds together at about 5:37 and 5:39, downtown Albany and over the Hudson River into Rensselaer, this storm will be in your area at about 5:44, 5:45. So that puts it in about 20 minutes. So heads up downtown Albany, batten down the hatches, bring in the hanging plants, put the lawn chairs away. You still have about 15, 20 minutes. This storm means business with gusty winds of at least 50, perhaps up to around 60 or 70 miles an hour as this whole thing blows through. We just got another warning for this particular segment. I'll let Reed digest that, and he'll come out, perhaps talk about that. I do want to reset the tornado warning as we approach 5:30. If we get to 5:30 without the tornado warning being extended, we'll jump back over to the anchors. We may do that anyway, but I do want to point out that the tornado warning is in effect for about another 4 minutes. Rachel. Okay, we're going to do that. We're going to go to the anchors in a moment. We're going to carry, this is what we're going to do. We'll carry through to 5:30. We'll see if this tornado warning is allowed to expire by the Weather Service. And you can see that's set to happen in just under 3 minutes, in about 2 minutes and a half. So if this is allowed to expire, we'll resume things. We'll talk about the warning that was just issued, but this would be good news if we can allow that tornado warning to expire. In the meantime, even if it is allowed to expire, Greenwich, Salem, Queensbury, Fort Anne, up toward Whitehall, all in Washington County, are under the gun with these 50 to 70 mile per hour winds and still some signature of rotation along the apex of these bows. You can see a couple of bowing segments now up into Warren County and, of course, over into Washington County, right along Route 2. You're about to get it now over towards Salem as well. Of course, Routes 4 and 32, right in the thick of things now. Saratoga Springs got a pretty good whack from this storm about 20 minutes ago. We'll wait to hear for some damage reports from those locations and see how Saratoga County as a whole fared. Rachel talked about just a ton of power outages in the path of this line of storm. So tornado warning for another minute. We'll see what goes on here if the Weather Service decides to expire it. They could expire it and then reissue it in 5 or 10 minutes, in which case we'll be right back on with you here. But this line extends down to the south. We'll cover this one more time. Off into the Latham area eventually, just west of Albany out toward Guilderland, 50 to 60 mile an hour wind gusts with the tail end of these storms out toward the radar site in the Helderberg. So we got about another 30 seconds with this warning. Still some serious winds with these storms as they blow through the metro now. Schenectady on up towards Scotia and Glenville. The Clifton Park area, we heard from Wanique. She had been there earlier waiting for the storms to roll through. We'll assess the conditions in these locations, starting to hear some thunder overhead right here in Manan. So bearing down here on the Greater Capital District. And this is good news. All right, I want to cover this and then we're going to send it back to the anchors. The tornado warning